Dear Tyler, good morning. How are you doing? Hope you're good. Hope you're fine. How's January coming along? Um, it's fun, right? It's really, really fun. Uh, yeah. Have the episodes been right? I really trust that they've been helping you. Um, you know, every topic has helped you to be able to build up a proper structure for planning for the year. I really, really hope that it has um, given you some insight, some little ideas on certain things to do. Uh, Last week's topic, yeah, it was a great one. And for me, I don't want you to think that I just say these things and then let them slip by me. I actually take out time and listen to the podcast themselves, right? Because to be honest, right, there are a lot of things that I say during recording that are like really spontaneous, they're not prepared. So, and they may be like really, really deep things, and I really also need them too, right? So I may not remember that I said them, but because they are captured in a recording, I'm able to listen back at your Tyler, and I'm like able to pick out things and stuff that help me too. So I go over the podcast also um, to be able to learn, right? So they are blessing me, right? And I really hope that they're blessing you too. Um, yeah, so I think I need to do this at the beginning of this episode. We've got social media handles, right? Dear Tyler is on social media, and it would be really great if we interact together there, right? Your likes, your follows, they really do help. They really do help. I I believe that the things that are shared on Dear Tyler are powerful. They are relevant. They have um, they have blessed you. Yes, right. So and you know how social media really works. It's really based on engagement, right? The more your social media page is engaged, the more followers you have, the more they actually share your content with other people, right? So please and please, this is me soliciting, right? Um, Check us out on Instagram, right? At dear_Tyler. Dear_Tyler. At dear_Tyler, right? Follow us on Instagram. You get when posts are made, just like, share, comment. Um, and then on Facebook, I know maybe quite a lot of us may not use Facebook, but we also have a Facebook page, and that page is just Dear Tyler. I make posts, just share it around. Also share the links for the podcast on Anchor, on Google Podcast, on Breaker, on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. Dear Tyler is on all of these platforms, right? And so the more that we share, right, um, and the more we engage on these platforms, the more the content is shared with other people that might as well not know of its existence, right? So it's really, really important. So please and please, right, it will mean a lot to me, right? So today's topic is Hard Target. Hard Target. I don't know if we watched that movie. I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme. Um, Hard Target. You know, I think it just gives the whole concept of the movie, right? Is I'm not even sure I could remember, but just somebody that was pretty hard to kill. You get just a very difficult target, So that's the theme that we're considering today. This morning we're considering hard target. And what we're really going to talk about is about did I have unrealistic goals? Did I set unrealistic goals? Right? Things that were difficult and hard to achieve. Or am I now in doubt of my abilities to achieve these things? Do you understand? It's like, what was I thinking when I put up these goals? Like, is it too much? Is it too big? Right? And I think I've said this over and over, especially over the last maybe 2-3 episodes, the past, 2 episodes rather. It is regular to have bogus desires at the start of a year, or at the start of any activity, or at the start of any project. The excitement makes us dream big, makes us dream big. It's expected. It's expected. Okay, so let's say you're a video game developer, for instance, right? Oh, we're going to develop this game, and this game is going to have this, it's going to have this, it's going to do this. I remember growing up, there was this TV show that I used to watch as a kid, Samurai Pizza Cat. It's actually even an adult show. It was just, the minds of children, we couldn't really dissect quite a lot of the complex grammar. But I loved the show, Samurai Pizza Cat. And I told myself this, and I was like, I'm going to build the video game version of Samurai Pizza Cat. There was this character, Speedy Gonzales, Little Polyester, and Guido Anchovy, right, with some other special cats, Bad Cat, some other people. Then the bad guy was Big Chief, and then Bad Bird, who again? I can't really remember, right? But I loved it. And so I built, that proper structure, built all of the things, that whole dream. I was like, once I get into university and I get into computer science, I'm going to start developing the games. I think I did another one, Operation Zero Hour. I came up with the whole storyline concept. I shared it with my friends. They're like, oh, wow, this is going to be a great game. And I got into university and I had my first programming class. And I was just seeing, if not this, that. It was like, my goodness. I tried working with some 3D, right, animation software. I tried some stuff before, just doing little animation, right, just normal intros, just little short videos. And I would do a 1-minute video, maybe a 2-minute video, and have to wait 3 hours for the video to render. It's like, anyway, my system was not a high-end system, but I was like, wow, isn't this like way much more than I am? Maybe I was ahead of myself. I wish I never gave up on it. I wish I knew the things that I did now. I would have actually done a lot better, right? And maybe those games would have been in production. Probably, I don't know. But then it usually happens, just that hype, when you come up with that idea, it usually happens that way, right? Now, this is something that we need to put before us at every time, right? It's important that you have this in front of you, Tyler. It's important to dream big, but more important to set achievable targets. It's important to dream big, but more important to set achievable targets. What's the roadmap that you have towards that big dream? What's the roadmap that you have, right, that you've set towards achieving those dreams? It's really, really important. Or that dream, it's really, really important. Think about the future, but then make sure that you come back to the present and then all those other little steps that will take you to that future. It's really, really important that you do that. It's not that the dream is bigger than you, it's just that you've not been able to set achievable targets that help you get to that desired dream. Another thing that we need to learn is patience. Time, because we're living in our minds a lot, right? And you see it in your mind, and that motivation, that ginger is all up there. We tend to lose track of the reality of time. It takes time. So it could be a habit, right? It could be a project, it could be whatever it is, right? Breaking habits actually means picking up new ones. It will take time, so don't rush. In your attempt to break a habit, or rather, in your attempt to pick up a habit, you are breaking one. Now you have an understanding of how difficult it is to break a habit. It's directly proportional to starting or creating a habit. You've got to give yourself that breathing space, and you've also got to give yourself time enough to break those habits. It's really, really important, Tyler. But I say it's very, 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 very important that you do that. Right? Or it's very important rather that you have that in mind, that breaking these habits are going to take time. Getting into the flow of your goals is really going to take a lot of time. Maybe not a lot of time, but it's going to take time. Make sure that time is factored into all of these things, right? The first part of building is the most important part and requires time. If it is rushed, right, it could send more than the building down. It could also cost lives and reputation. Usually when we rush into things without creating the proper foundation, putting certain things into focus, right, those little steps, most times when we do that, when we crash, it becomes really bad, and that disappointment has a way of affecting our desire to do other things. Usually, what stops you from targeting a desired dream is the failure in a previous one. It has a way of popping itself up, and because you're building something big, you're exerting so much energy, and it doesn't work, and you get weary. The mistakes we make in a certain area, right, have a way of spreading and affecting other areas. When we don't do things properly, when we don't do things in a focused manner, it has a way, the mishaps in that endeavor have a way of seeping in and discouraging us in the other things that we're doing. I remember growing up and being afraid to do quite a lot of things because I failed in other things, right? And they may be absolutely unrelated. Absolutely unrelated. I used to run this race, 1,500 meter race, and I never really had a very good position. It was usually very bad for me. But because I had failed in sports, right? I just felt like I'd fail in relationships, right? So I entered relationships with the notion that I would have a good start, but then along the line I would fall off, right? So that's what happens, especially when things are not planned, right? When you don't build up. I just started like running in my SS1, and I was running against guys that were running from GS1. They had mastered the art. I remember at the end of my last 1,500 meter race, at the end, by the time the first 5 people were were done, I was at a 200, they had given me a 200-meter gap. It was really quite embarrassing, right? But had it been had structured, built it over time, then things would have been different if I had built it over time. I literally had my first 1,500 meter race, I think in my SS2, SS3. There was no way, absolutely no way I was going to meet up with them. But then that mishap had a way of affecting me in quite a lot of other things, right? Remember, little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Yes, they do. Think about the rain. When it rains, right, it doesn't just pour the very amount that is eventually seen. So sometimes when it rains heavily, right, you could see that in some gullies, little streams are being created. In fact, when I'm traveling, if you're traveling down to Taraba, especially to my place, and you don't want to follow through Benue, you're going to cross a river. You're going to cross the river Ibi, and during the dry season, it's not very deep and all. But when the rains start, right, just a little drizzle, and then the consistent drizzling, before you know, sometimes you could spend, not exaggerating, you could spend up to 30 minutes crossing the river. Because you're trying to navigate the different paths and all, you could spend up to 30 minutes. Now that's how working with achievable targets is, right? Those little drops may not be significant at that time, right? But then in its consistency, you would find out that there is a lot of power in those little drops. That those little drops really, really became the difference. And so today you may not see it, tomorrow you may not see it, a week you may not see it, right? But somehow, after some time, take a look back at how the water level was, and a week later you'd actually see that there was a change. Your goal is that little change. Those little steps make the difference. Those little steps make the difference, right? The little steps taken over time, right, are the things that add up to become what we call an achievement. Just those little steps, those little steps. You want to become the fastest man in the world, right? It's not going to be wise to say that you're going to wake up one morning and your target is to beat Usain Bolt's record of 1.67 seconds or something. It's not achievable. The first thing to do is to find out, okay, what's your limit or what's your own speed? And you find out that you run 100 meters in 11 seconds or maybe 12. And so what you need to do is to start breaking it down, right? And say, okay, my target for the month is that I want to run 11 seconds 50. By February, I'm reducing 10 seconds from every month. Every month I'm going to reduce 10 seconds. Sorry, 10 microseconds rather. 10 microseconds. By the end of the year, right, you had removed 120 microseconds, which is approximately 1 second. So you started with 12, right? You started on 12, but now you are running 11. No, sorry for the poor math. You are running 10 seconds, 10.8 seconds. Now it may not be that drastic, but you get the example, right? You get the example. You've removed a minute in a year. A second in a year. Now in a sprint race, that's extremely significant. It's major. Right? So it's important that you do that, right? It's very, very important that you do it that way, right? Sometimes when we go headlong into dreams and headlong into goals without making those little tiny achievements, right? It makes it very hard. Review your goals, right? And if they are too big and unachievable, break it down into smaller steps. The ultimate goal is still that big dream, but you've made it achievable. If you want to be fit, don't start with 100 push-ups in a day. So maybe your goal is fitness, and you're like, every day I'm going to do 100 push-ups. Your body is going to tell you your errors. Your body is going to tell you that I'm not in support. There's no solidarity between you and I in this thing. Right? Start with 1 push-up. Nobody needs to know. I'm going to do a push-up a day, or 2-3 push-ups. From that push-up, once you're comfortable, once you've been able to achieve it consistently, you say 5, you say 10, you say 20, and before you know, your body begins to adjust, and then you grow, right? The goal is to do 100 push-ups a day, right? But then you're starting with 5 or 4, 3, however little it is, right? But then being consistent and then growing that way, right? So it's important. Set targets that are achievable. Have the big dream. Have the vision. You're taking over the world in this sector, right? But then, what are those little steps that you need to imbibe at this point to get you to that bigger dream? It's very important that you do that, right? Very, very important that you do that, Tyler. So, it's not that one of the things that makes us in doubt, rather, or it's not that it's the dreams are unachievable. It's just that our inability to break down those goals. Really. Remember in a previous episode I shared, and I was like, if you are able, what builds motivation in you is achieving a certain target, right? And seeing the results of the target. It motivates you to continue, right? Make sure that you move at a pace that you can. Keep the goal, the ultimate goal in view, right? But then the goal itself daily is to achieve those little steps. And once you achieve them, reward yourself. Be happy. Be proud, right? You're making progress. You're better than you are yesterday, right? So I really hope that this has blessed you in some way. It has helped you, right? Almost be rounding this whole target planning thing, right? But this is it, right? So remember that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always rooting for you, right? So this is me signing out. Have a lovely, lovely day, Tyler.